Hi, I'm Bernd Nussbaumer from UK. We continue to have a bit of a relief rally in the markets right now, which feels a little bit like risk on, mainly triggered by the chatter about the big oil production cut that people expect on a G20 oil minister meeting. We rallied around 35% of the low so far on the back of that story. The market is again going into the playbook from 2008, where oil was basing first, and a few weeks later the S&P was based, and things started to turn around. I understand the need for being positive, but that doesn't really mean we should start to become complacent. This is not 2008, and it isn't 1998. So I've written a piece yesterday about the talk of this V-shaped recovery. I'm surprised at what ease intelligent economists just go into their school books and talk about the V-shape as if it is the most natural thing. Yes, no doubt. You know, once we start up again after the lockdown, yes, things will go up first, no doubt about it. But what we shouldn't forget is we had the high street in trouble globally. We had other industries in trouble well before the virus. So this shutdown of whatever time it takes could just really be the final nail for some of the small, medium, or large caps out there. We should really not forget that. We've seen a large spike in unemployment. We will see more of that in the weeks ahead. Yes, that might be just a temporarily a spike, but I'm not sure if all the jobs that are lost now in the next few months are actually going to come back. So we have to expect that unemployment remains higher for a considerable period of time. The other thing really is the slowdown now, the damage on the economy is of unprecedented nature, and we should really not forget that, and that's why it is not a 2008 or 1998 playbook. This is more like 1920s, 1930s, with the only downside that we will not have the post-World War II boost in terms of rebuilding and all these sorts of stuff that have to be bought again. Next to the fact that the consumer might take quite some time to find the confidence to go out again. So this is just not the same. This is not about scaremongering or being negative. That is just some realism, which I think a lot of people, or in particular economists, should have a good dose of it as well, and just try to think outside the box a little bit. So this is my round done. We go over to the usual slides now. Is the first one is going to be the non-farm payroll. Obviously, no doubt about it, a big drop on Friday, 700,000 jobs, which obviously is still probably not the full truth right now. We're going to get worse numbers going forward, which again is probably to be expected. The next slide that I want to show is a sort of prediction out there of how high the unemployment rate could actually go. So there is talk, some talk about 15, 16%. I heard others that go well into the 20s. To be honest, we just don't know. This is so much up. That is so unprecedented what is going on, that really anything can happen. The most important thing obviously is that once the economy starts up again, hopefully a lot of people that did lose their job will actually find their old job back. But until the rate comes down really where we were, it's going to take a long, long time. On the next slide, this is just the unprecedented monetary activity from the Fed. That is probably true for many other global central banks. You see QE4 and the prediction of how QE4 is going to go. You just see on one look at the graph how unprecedented the stimulus is that is coming from the Fed. This is the sort of all-in that the Fed is doing, and why I continue to expect the dollar to weaken. On the next slide, that's the dollar index. We hover around this 100.80 yesterday. We failed again. We now trade below the 115 level. A close below there would really mean the dollar is peaking, and I think finally the activity, the unprecedented policy from the Fed will show effect that the dollar starts to weaken. And last but not least, gold finally has woken up, is finally going towards where we expect it to go, which is up with unprecedented monetary as well as fiscal policy. Like we said many times on this show, we have zero interest rates, we have large QE, and on top of it, we expect 10 to 20 trillion global stimulus. So there's only one way for gold. I know it's a bit of a consensus trade. That's why it probably took some time to react, but there's no doubt where gold should be heading overall. This is it for me for this week. Thank you very much. Stay safe. All the best to you. Thank you.